The roadside carnival that never left. Fog rolled across the highway like a living thing, clinging to the edges of the trees. The neon lights of a carnival appeared in the distance, pulsing softly, but I hadn't seen any sign of it on the map. My tires crunched over wet gravel as I slowed, drawn to the glowing banners that swayed in windless air. The carnival was empty. Booths lined the perimeter, colors faded, peeling paint giving the illusion of age far older than the night warranted. A carousel spun lazily, though no one operated it. Horses rose and fell with creaking joints, their eyes glinting in the dim neon. I stepped closer, feeling the chill seep into my bones. The smell of popcorn and sugar lingered, but there was no one to sell it, no smell of a fire or generator. The air felt wrong thick, almost breathing against my skin. I hesitated, telling myself it was some abandoned roadside attraction, a trick of the fog and my imagination. Then I saw movement, small figures scuttling between booths. Children, or something that resembled them, with crooked limbs and wide grins that stretched too far across pale faces. Their backpacks bulged in impossible shapes, shifting as if alive. They paused, tilting heads in unison, staring at me with glowing eyes. I froze. My bag felt heavy against my shoulder. My heartbeat echoed in my ears. One of them whispered, voice layered and broken like shards of glass, "Come play." I stepped back, and the fog thickened, curling around my legs as though it had a mind of its own. The carnival lights flickered, stuttering like a heartbeat. I tried to turn away, but the path behind me had vanished. Every booth seemed to stretch into infinity, doors repeating where none should exist. The carousel's music started without wind, a warped tune that clawed at my skull. I ran. My shoes slipped on damp gravel as the small figures followed silently, never making a sound but always closing in. Their hands extended toward me, long and thin, claws scraping the ground, and the air grew metallic, tasting of iron and fear. Every shadow in the carnival seemed alive, twisting toward me with impossible speed. I stumbled into the funhouse. Mirrors lined the walls, distorted and broken. My reflection split into dozens of faces, each one grinning wider, screaming in silence. Behind me, the small figures appeared in the glass, closer than reality allowed. One leaned forward and whispered in my own voice, repeating my thoughts before I had them. I wanted to escape, to run outside, but the fog swallowed the exits. The carnival expanded, halls stretching impossibly, booths repeating endlessly. Time blurred. I lost count of steps, of moments, of breaths. The carousel spun faster, music spiraling into static, and the figures grew, multiplying with each heartbeat. One of them stepped beside me. Its backpack opened, spilling hands, twisting, reaching for me. The other figures circled, their laughter harmonizing in a tone that shook my very bones. My limbs moved without my permission, pulling me toward the center of the carousel. The ride felt alive, grinding metal against metal like jaws closing. I realized I was part of the carnival now. Every reflection, every shadow, every heartbeat belonged to it. My thoughts echoed in the mirrors, my voice repeated in whispers, my limbs controlled by unseen hands. I tried to scream, but only laughter came out, joining the chorus of the small figures. The lights flickered one last time. The fog rolled back onto the highway, leaving no trace of the carnival. I woke hours later in my car, parked by the roadside, engine cold, the neon sign gone. My bag was empty, but a single crooked coin rested on the seat, stamped with a face I didn't recognize. If you see a carnival at night on a lonely highway, glowing in fog and silence, don't approach. Don't stop, don't step inside. And if you hear laughter behind you tonight, don't turn around. That isn't a child. That's the carnival, and it's already inside your mind. The motel playground. The motel had a playground. That was the first wrong thing. A sagging slide, a rusted swing set, a sandbox that looked more like a grave than a play area. I pulled into the parking lot at midnight, headlights cutting across the empty toys. And that's when I saw them. Small figures, sitting in the sand, smiling too wide, like they'd been waiting for me. Tell me, what do you do when the children at a roadside playground won't stop watching? I was 3 states into a trip, running on gas station coffee and bad decisions. My eyes burned, my hands shook, and I just wanted a bed. The highway was empty. The towns were dust. When the motel appeared a glowing vacancy sign, I took it as a blessing. The playground outside should have been a warning. The desk clerk barely looked up when I checked in. She slid me a key that was already marked with my name, Room 7. Her hand lingered on mine longer than it should have, nails scraping my skin. "Don't look at them," she whispered. I didn't ask who. I wish I had. The room smelled of mildew and old smoke. The bed sagged. The curtains didn't close all the way. I lay down, too tired to care. Then came the sound. Giggles. High-pitched. Too many voices at once. I froze. Pressed my ear to the wall. The giggles weren't from inside the room. They were outside. From the playground. I told myself it was fine. Kids, maybe, from some family that checked in before me. But when I peeked through the curtain, the lot was empty. No cars, no families, just the playground. And sitting in the sand 3 small figures, their faces tilted up toward my window, grinning. The next night, they multiplied. 5 figures now, then 7. Always sitting in the sand, always staring. I stopped leaving the room after dark. The clerk didn't flinch when I asked about them. She only said, "Don't look too long, they'll notice." Her eyes were ringed with red, like she hadn't slept in years. I tried leaving, packed up, drove off, but the highway looped. Every sign pointed back to the motel. When I pulled into the lot again, the figures were waiting at the swings, rocking slowly, back and forth, their mouths stretched wider than they should have. One night, I woke to the sound of the swing creaking. The giggles were closer. I opened my eyes. They were inside the room. Small shadows standing by the bed, their heads tilted in unison, mouths splitting into sharp-toothed smiles. One climbed onto the mattress. Its voice was like broken glass. "Play with us. If you're listening to this, you need to hear me. Don't stop at roadside motels with playgrounds. Don't even slow down. And if you're hearing my voice, leave a trace. Subscribe, comment, anything. If no one remembers me, I'll still be playing with them. Forever." I tried barricading the door, shoved the dresser against it, but the giggles never stopped. They seeped through the walls, through the vents, through my head. I dreamed of sand filling my mouth, choking me. I woke with grit on my tongue. The mirror showed handprints, small ones, too many to count. On the final night, the sand spilled under my door. It poured in, filling the carpet, rising past my ankles. And they came with it. Dozens of them now, crawling through the cracks, eyes glowing like headlights. Their little hands gripped my legs, their laughter shredding my eardrums. And I realized I wasn't trapped in the motel. The motel was their playground, and I was just another toy. If you ever stop at a motel and see a playground outside, don't check in. If you hear laughter in the sand, don't look. Because once the freaks notice you, they never let go. And maybe tonight, if you wake up and hear a swing creaking outside your window, you'll know. They've already found you. The night bus with no driver. The bus arrived late. Its headlights cut through thick fog like eyes searching for something. The doors hissed open. The driver's seat was empty, unsettlingly still. I stepped aboard. The doors closed behind me without a sound. The engine hummed, though no one touched it. My stomach twisted. I sat near the back, gripping my bag, heartbeat hammering. The windows reflected something strange. Small figures filled the empty seats behind me. I turned. Empty. I blinked. They weren't there. Static hissed from the radio. Then laughter. High, shrill, impossible. I tried pulling the stop cord. Nothing. The red lights of a distant signal blinked. The bus didn't slow. The highway stretched endlessly. Trees pressed against the fog like fingers. Signs blurred, repeated. My phone showed no signal. Maps useless. I realized I wasn't alone anymore. The small figures appeared in the seats around me. Their backpacks bulged, shifting like something alive. Their faces grinned too wide, teeth too sharp. "Play with us," one whispered, voice like broken glass. I pressed against the window, hoping for headlights behind me. None came, only endless black road. I stood, stumbling toward the front. My shoes stuck to the floor. The driver's seat remained empty, but the wheel turned on its own. The bus groaned, bending, metal whining like lungs breathing. I yanked the doors. Locked, my fists thudded against the cold. The small figures hummed. Low, vibrating, relentless. A shadow sat beside me. Its backpack opened. Hands spilled out. Too many hands. Grabbing, clawing, scraping against my skin. The others laughed louder. My ears rang. The windows no longer reflected trees. Sand filled the panes, a buried playground. Swings creaked in slow motion. Shadows climbed the slide, twisted. In the glass, my face warped. Skin stretched. Smile too wide. I whispered to myself, trying to think fast. But nothing helped. Each step I tried to take, they were closer. The hum of the engine became a low, steady heartbeat. I stumbled backward, collided with empty seats. My hands scraped metal. The bus seemed alive, breathing, watching, waiting. I tried to call out. My voice felt wrong, echoing in the wrong pitch. They circled me, small, crooked bodies, eyes glowing faintly. I realized I wasn't a passenger anymore. I was part of the bus. The wheel turned sharply. I fell to the floor. The engine groaned. If you ride a night bus and the driver is missing, don't get on. Leave a trace. Subscribe. Comment. Otherwise, when they take me, they'll come for you. Hours or maybe days blurred. The bus filled with the small figures. Their backpacks spilled into the aisle. The metal groaned like lungs. I tried to close my eyes. It didn't help. They whispered inside my mind. Every flicker of light reflected them. Every shadow twisted into a smile. If you see headlights tonight, don't step inside. The empty seats are waiting. And if laughter wakes you, it won't be a dream. The bus will be waiting. The hollow truck stopped. Rain slicked the highway as I drove, headlights slicing through the night. A lone sign flickered in the distance. Hollow truck stop, open 24 hours. My tires hissed across wet asphalt as I slowed, needing a break from the endless road. Something about the sign felt wrong, but exhaustion pushed me forward. The lot was empty, not a single truck. The pumps gleamed under flickering lights, the smell of gasoline thick and cloying in the humid air. I stepped out, stretching and rubbing my shoulders, my boots sinking slightly into the damp gravel. The wind whispered in the treetops, a sound that made the hairs on my neck stand up. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, throwing harsh shadows across the cracked linoleum floor. The counter clerk was a small figure hunched over a logbook. His head lifted slowly, revealing a pale, angular face and eyes that glinted too sharply under the light. "Room upstairs," he rasped. The words carried no warmth, only expectation. I nodded, paid with exact change, and climbed the narrow stairs. The hallway smelled of mildew and old carpet. The walls seemed too close, pressing inward as I walked, the lights flickering with a nervous rhythm. Room 9 awaited. I slid the key in, feeling the metal cold against my palm. The door opened, revealing a room ordinary at first glance. The bed was made, but the sheets were warm, as if someone had just left. A thin draft carried whispers I couldn't place, rushing across my ears and making me tense. I set my bag down, telling myself I was imagining things. Then came the knock. Soft, deliberate, on the opposite wall. I froze. There was no one there. I whispered, "Hello?" Silence, save for the hum of the heater and distant rumble of rain. Another knock, louder this time. Hesitant, I approached the window. Nothing moved outside. The mirror above the dresser caught my eye. My reflection lingered a moment too long before a shadow flickered behind me. I spun. Empty room. My heartbeat raced, echoing against the walls. I tried to convince myself it was fatigue playing tricks on me. But the air had grown thick, almost heavy. Footsteps, soft, deliberate, pacing across the floor outside the door. I held my breath, listening. The steps paused, then returned in reverse, retreating. My bag shifted slightly, as if nudged by unseen hands. Panic rose, a cold spiked through my chest. The whispers returned, layered and unintelligible, seeming to come from every corner at once. Shapes pressed against the corners of my vision, small figures, crooked limbs, pale faces with grins too wide to be human. I blinked. They weren't gone. I could feel them watching, waiting. I tried to leave. The door handle resisted, cold and unyielding. I pounded with my fists. It didn't budge. The hallway stretched beyond comprehension when I glimpsed it through the peephole. Doors repeated, walls bending inward, as if the building itself had grown conscious. The shadow in the corner moved again, coalescing into a small figure with a backpack that seemed alive. It whispered my name in my own voice. My blood ran cold. Others appeared in reflections, on the floor, in the gaps between walls. The rules became clear. Don't respond. Don't move too quickly. Don't look too long. The room shifted beneath me. Time distorted. Hours might have passed. Minutes collapsed. My own reflection moved independently, writing words on a note I hadn't touched. Stay. Play. I tried to speak, but only laughter, hollow and layered, left my mouth. I sank to the bed, trying to breathe, trying to reclaim control. The small figures circled me, their whispers threading through my thoughts, twisting memories into impossibilities. The walls pulsated, closing in with deliberate intent. I realized I wasn't trapped in the room. The room was part of me now. The lights flickered violently. The ceiling seemed to stretch upward, revealing more figures, more hands, all grinning, waiting. My body resisted my commands. Every movement was borrowed, every thought shared. Escape was an illusion. Freedom meant losing myself entirely. Then silence, the kind that presses against your ears and fills your lungs. The only sound was my breathing, shallow and rapid, mingling with distant giggles that refused to fade. The door creaked slightly, but I knew I would not leave. The place had claimed more than my presence. It had claimed me. If you drive past a truck stop in the dead of night and see it glowing in fog and rain, do not stop. Do not listen to whispers or follow shadows. They will not let you leave unchanged. And if you hear footsteps echoing behind you as you drive tonight, do not look back. The hollow truck stop is waiting, watching, and it may already know your name. The motel that doesn't exist. The rain had followed me for 3 hours straight, a curtain of water smearing the windshield. I drove through the empty stretch of interstate, half asleep, when the glow of a neon sign cut through the storm. Vacancy, Rosewood Motel. The letters flickered, stuttering like a dying heartbeat. I hadn't seen a town for 50 miles, but exhaustion forced my hands to turn the wheel. The parking lot was silent. The kind of silence that swallows even the sound of your own breathing. The rooms lined up in a perfect row, curtains drawn tight, lights faintly glowing behind them. Every door looked the same. The office light burned brightest, so I stepped inside. The clerk didn't look up at first. Her hair was pinned tight, her hands busy tapping a register that didn't seem to work. When she finally raised her head, her eyes were cloudy, unfocused, like she was staring through me. "You already have a room," she said. Not a question. A fact. I tried to protest, but the key slid across the counter before I spoke. The tag read, Room 12. The metal was warm, as if carried in someone else's pocket. I pocketed it reluctantly, muttering thanks, though she was already looking down again. The corridor outside smelled faintly of iron and wet earth. I counted the doors as I walked, but each time I reached 12, another door stretched the line longer. I blinked, lost count, and somehow I was standing in front of 12 again. The key slid in smoothly. The room was ordinary, too ordinary. A bedspread with a repeating diamond pattern, beige walls, a buzzing lamp on the nightstand. But the air was already warm, like someone had been there minutes before me. I shut the door and felt the weight of the place settle around me. I turned on the TV for company, static flickering into shape. The screen showed the motel itself, the very room I was in, from the ceiling corner. My chest tightened. I switched channels, but everyone showed a different angle of me in real time. I unplugged the set, but the images continued, my face staring back, more distorted with each flicker. Then came the knock. Soft, deliberate. 3 taps. I held my breath, staring at the door. A whisper followed, muffled but distinct. My name. I froze. No one should know my name. I backed away slowly, heart racing, until my legs hit the bed. The mirror above the dresser caught my movement. My reflection smiled before I did. The lips curved upward, slow and deliberate, as my own face stayed frozen. I stumbled, knocking over the lamp. The room plunged into shadows, but the reflection still gleamed, teeth white, too sharp. I tried the door. Locked, deadbolt stuck. The handle turned halfway, and then resisted, like someone on the other side held it tight. My pulse hammered. I slammed my shoulder against the door, but it didn't budge. The whisper came again, this time closer. Lie down. The carpet beneath my feet rippled like water. Shapes pressed against it from below hands, faces, mouths opening and closing in silence. The bedspread shifted, as though something crawled beneath it. I backed into the corner, gasping, trapped between mirror and door. Time fractured. The clock ticked backwards. My phone displayed numbers that weren't numbers at all, just shifting symbols. My reflection moved to the bed, lying down in my place. I felt the weight press against my chest, though I hadn't moved. The rules clicked into my mind. Don't answer. Don't lie down. Don't watch too long. The TV sparked back on, showing dozens of versions of Room 12. Each one had me inside, but not me. Faces blurred, smiles frozen, eyes empty. The reflections in the screens began to crawl out, shapes peeling from static like wet paper. I clutched the doorknob desperately, but my own hand was no longer mine. The air thickened, metallic on my tongue, and a figure stepped from the shadows. Small, angular, with limbs too thin, bending wrong. Its head cocked to the side, grinning wide, whispering in a voice layered with mine. "You already checked in?" I don't remember falling, only the sensation of sinking, like water closing over my head. The carpet swallowed me whole. My screams didn't leave my throat, they echoed in my skull, trapped. The last thing I saw was the reflection climbing into the bed, pulling the sheets to its chin, satisfied. If you're driving late, if you see Rosewood's flickering sign where no town should be, don't stop. Don't even slow. Keep going, no matter how tired you are. Because once you hold the key, once you step into room 12, you've already been claimed. And if tonight you dream of a beige room with a buzzing lamp, don't open your eyes too quickly. Don't turn to the mirror, because that smile you see may not wait for you to catch up.